I'm back with another video. Got a chance to spend some time in the state of California. I also got a chance to see another national park. Here we go. So the road trip continues. This stop has brought me to Pinnacles National Park in California. Some 23 million years ago, several volcanoes erupted. If you look around at all these rock formations, this is a result of that. Despite all of that history, Pinnacles was only named the national park in 2013 by President Obama. It is one of the newer national parks in the national park system, not one of the most visited parks in California, given that you have to compete with Yosemite and the Redwoods and Joshua Tree and a number of other national parks in California. So that makes this a place to go. This park is divided in two sides, the east side and the west side. Most people tend to go to the east side. There tends to be more to do on the east side. Also, the east side is the only part of the park that has a campground. You cannot drive between the east side and the west side in a single day. You have to drive out and all the way back around the park if you want to come back in the west side. I wasn't up for doing that. Most of what I wanted to see, actually all of what I wanted to see, was going to be on the east side of the park. All of the RV sites were taken, so my travel trailer and I had to opt for a walk-in campsite. Not a problem for me. I usually travel with a tent, actually enjoy sleeping outside and hearing the sounds of nature. It was not extreme weather, so it was not a big deal. This is a place you come if you enjoy hiking. One of the best hikes in the park, the High Peaks Trail through Bear Gulch. There is a small parking lot at the trailhead. If you want to use this parking lot or this trail, you're going to have to get here early. It's not a problem if you do not, but there are only about 10 spots in this parking lot, and it fills up really fast. I happen to be the first one there. I'm an early riser. If you do not get a parking spot, it is not a problem. The National Park Service has a shuttle that runs from the visitor center and drop you off at the trailhead. There's something about this trail, this High Peaks Trail, or this Moses Spring Trail. You pass through this thing called Bear Gulch Cave. Now, anyone who knows me really well or who's been around me in the outdoors knows that caves are not my favorite. And that is putting it lightly. With that said, I've been in 3 of them in the past 12 months. Sometimes you just need to step to your fear. Now, don't get me wrong. I was not like with a helmet and a flashlight crawling around on my hands and knees. It wasn't that kind of cave. No, that's not going to happen. So here I go through Bear Gulch Cave. Now, there's a bit of a hike before you get to the caves, maybe a mile or half a mile, not very far. But in that time, you pass by beautiful rock formations. You see the effects of volcanic activity all around you. It's actually a pretty cool hike. Now, in preparation for this hike, I did read that it is a good idea to have a flashlight or a headlamp in Bear Gulch Cave because, like most caves, it's dark in there. So, I have my equipment. I'm all ready to go. And I approach this opening in the rock face. So I was like, oh, so the cave begins. So, I take a couple of breaths to get my blood pressure right and decide, okay, yeah, this doesn't look like it's that big of a deal. It's big enough for me to walk through. No problem. Well, as it turns out, this is not the cave at all. This is just an opening where they've tunneled through the rock on your way to the cave. But even on the other side of that, the view was magnificent. So I got my blood pressure all worked up for nothing. Little did I know the real cave was coming. And there's a sign here that says, caution, flashlights required, low ceilings, slippery when wet. So you kind of slide through the rocks. And when you first enter Bear Gulch Cave, at least the lower section of Bear Gulch Cave, you realize 1, there's water in there. 2, it's not really a cave, or at least a cave for me, because I can see the sky. There's, what this is really rocks that have fallen down, volcanic rock that's fallen down on itself and created a cave. There are some openings where you can get some daylight, but it is dark. So yeah, I guess it would qualify as a cave. I was surprised to see so much water. So, I'm trying to figure out where this water's coming from, because, water in a cave. Yeah, I don't know if that's a really good thing, but not to worry. Water's not very deep, maybe 5-6 inches at most. But you can hear, I can hear a waterfall. So I keep going through the cave, and then it becomes a cave. It's dark, it's wet, it has all the signs and symptoms of a cave. Then I see a waterfall. Okay, so this is where the water's coming from. Okay, and I realize part of this hike passes by a reservoir. I figured out where the water is coming from. But actually, the cave is pretty fascinating. See this waterfall in here, you can see it, although it is dark, you can still see bits and pieces of it. The sound was incredible because it just echoed, throughout the cave and off the cave wall. It was actually pretty cool. There are a couple sections in the cave where I had to bend over, but it's only about 15 feet long. Then you emerge from this little crack in the rock, this little slit in the rocks, and you're out of the cave. You're out of the cave, you continue to hike. As I continue to hike, you still climb, you're still moving upward. This climb does have some elevation to it. Then you start to see the enormity of this volcanic eruption. You see these huge rocks, these huge boulders that have just fallen on what you've just kind of hiked through. And it is it's pretty interesting. So it's not much further when you emerge from the cave and you start to see just more rock formations. Yeah, so this is where you kind of emerge from the cave, these little cracks right here. It wasn't that bad. But then you hike a little bit further and you hike a little further and you approach the reservoir. That right there is worth a hike alone. You can sit and watch your reflection. The water is like glass. You can hike along on the reservoir. And I continued to hike up because I wanted to get along the High Peaks Trail. And then you see the reasons why this is a national park. Well, after you leave the reservoir, the trail gets even more beautiful, but it also gets a lot steeper. It's one of those trails you're going to find out if your workouts are working. So just letting you know, you don't have to go to the high peaks. You can stop right there at the reservoir. It is a beautiful hike and well worth it. So if you choose to turn around here, not a bad decision. One of the main attractions in Pinnacles National Park are California condors. There are not a whole lot of them left in the world. I did not see one. I saw what I thought was a condor. Actually, it just turned out to be a turkey vulture. But this is one of those places that you go to see them. I get to the high peaks on the end of the trail, and there's a bench there. You can kind of sit and take in the sight. Then I decided I'm going to turn back around. I must confess, I actually enjoyed the cave, so I wanted to go back the same way that I came. So I hiked back down and went through the cave. One of the bigger challenges for me was finding that little crack where I came out, because that's the same crack that you go back in, and it's not that big. There was a sign there. I walked by it the first time. I backtracked and was able to find it. If you choose not to go back through the cave, there is a trail that goes around the cave. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. It seemed like it was boring. The cave pretty fascinating to me. It's strange for a person who's terrified of caves. I can't get enough of them these days. But if you are claustrophobic, there is a way to do this hike without going through the cave. This has been a pretty good day. I'm glad I came here. I've been to, I think there are 63 national parks in the national park system. This is national park number 54 for me, so I have 9 left. So Pinnacles has been quite an adventure. I really enjoyed this. Was able to check off another national park on my national parks bucket list as I try to get through all of them. Before I ended this stop, I made one other stop. I went skiing. Lake Tahoe is just a few hours away. I have some friends that live not far from there. And so I went out and had a chance to test the laws of gravity on a ski slope. I do ski. I am not an expert skier, but I do enjoy it. And so I went to ski resort, Lake Tahoe. They're having a record snowfall year. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this channel. So this wrapped up this portion of my road trip. I'll be posting more from the road really soon. But before I do that, I will leave you with these. I'll be posting more video from my travels soon. Stay tuned.